Hi, I'm a terrible thing, and you're watching Trilby's Notes. This is the third game in the Ben Croshaw adventure game series, Chizo Mythos. And this one is, I don't know, I'd say probably, it's hard to say. I would say it's probably my favorite, but it's a close call between Trilby's Notes and 6 Days of Sacrifice. But so this is a surprising game. This had a lot of influence on me. I actually I think I was explaining in my last playthrough of 7 Days of Skeptic that the original inspiration for the Pain Chaser was actually these games. A lot of the idea of like a creature that feeds off of pain and whatnot kind of comes from this sort of no tutorial, no commentary. But let's jump right into it. The following documents are taken from the handwritten notes of Trilby, an STP field operative whose real name remains classified. Game over. That was quick. That was what I thought when I stood and watched Defoe Manor collapse into flaming ash. The ordeal was over. Those 5 days cost us all so much. Philip and AJ paid with their lives. They were the fortunate ones. Jim Fowler was expelled from school for truancy, a bright future in tatters. Simone Taylor took to the bottle. Her broadcast became slurred, her eyes hollow and unwelcoming. She soon vanished from television screens. As for me, I tried to return to life as a cat burglar, but I'd been forever tainted by my time spent in that wretched house. The memories of my possession came back in my nightmares. Every night I was there again in the mansion, staring out through unfamiliar eyes as Philip died at my hands. I became convinced that John Defoe was not at rest, that someday he would return for me. I became so terrified of invisible enemies that I forgot about the tangible ones. Trilby caught. Infamous cat thief, something. 2 slow, miserable years after Defoe Manor, a barrage of truncheon blows, taught me a harsh lesson in reality, and I woke up in the kind of filthy cell I assumed would be my new home. But then he came, the man from the government, with his nervous smile, offering an alternative. The STP, Special Talent Project. It hadn't been that much earlier that I would have sooner died than entertained an obligation with anyone, least of all the government. Had Defoe Manor changed me so much? Whatever my reasons, I left my past behind and resolved to give my new superiors nothing to complain about. I spent a year and a half completing assignments, developing contacts, building a reputation. And then, the past caught up. In the summer of 1997, I became concerned about Simone Taylor's mental well-being. The papers were reporting her continual breakdown, and she became a virtual recluse. I had no idea if my appearance would assist or hinder. I had, after all, deliberately allowed her to think me dead. Presumably, she knew differently now. After the media coverage of my arrest, but I would expect her to be bitter about my I would expect her to be bitter about my subterfuge. Okay. On balance, I decided that a meeting with an old friend would most likely be beneficial. I came to her apartment building on a warm, stormy night and braced myself for the encounter. The art assets in this game are a bit better, and strangely, Ben decided to go with a text parser interface rather than a point-and-click interface. Basic security measures ensure that that was impossible. I had no business with Simone's neighbor. I guess that's the wrong door. I knocked sharply on Simone's door. No answer. I saw no reason to break in at the moment. Knock again. Receiving no reply, I knocked again, louder. What happened there? I knocked one more time, and one more time was met with only silence. Picklock. I reasoned that Simone would have been in trouble, and even if she wasn't, then at worst I was playing to my reputation. Spent a few minutes feverishly picking the lock, and then let myself in. I think this does kind of conflict with something that Trilby said in the letter in 7 Days a Skeptic, where he said that he said that he heard that Simone had been killed, and here we actually see that he's the one that found the body. We'll open the blinds. I pulled open the blind. Look at the body. Simone's bedroom light refuses to turn on. I stood in pitch darkness. The intermediate flashes of lightning prevented my eyes from adjusting. The body on the floor was undoubtedly Simone. I felt for a pulse, and my hands came away stained with long cooled blood. My fingers traced the outline of a large wound in her torso, slashed by a big weapon, wielded by a big assailant. I called for an ambulance, as futile as it would be, and left before they arrived. So I was thinking, it's possible that he just didn't say he actually found the body because of the fact that he didn't want... Well, that doesn't make any sense. I was going to say he wouldn't want anybody knowing that he was the one that found the body, but then he sent that message into space. It's not like he would get caught. I don't know. Probably just a small plot hole. Due to me being a clear murder suspect, I was relieved from duty for the week it took for the Ministry of Occultism to inspect the flat and confirm supernatural activity. My superior simultaneously apologized and assigned me to investigate if there was a connection to the Defoe Manor incident. Merely reading these 3 words, capitalized on the front of the loose-leaf file, brought the nightmares back with more intensity than ever. Sure enough, a field agent reported that looters had discovered and sold several artifacts from the mansion, including the wood idol that housed John Defoe's soul. Now, this game, I think, where I really start to like the series at this point is because it definitely takes on a sort of Lovecraftian influence that wasn't there in the first 2 games. To my surprise, no murders had been reported or committed by anyone who had come into contact with the accursed trinket. I did not find this reassuring. I quickly advised James Fowler to go into hiding. He was stunned, but agreed. The boy had sense and still respected my judgment. This done, I began following the idol's trail. From the pawn shop, it had entered the possession of a Professor Abed Cahal, an authoritative historian. Now, whether I'm saying that name correctly or not, you should notice that Abed's name, Cahal or Chahal or however you pronounce that name, is the same name that Barry had in 7 Days a Skeptic. And this is a reoccurring theme, that there are characters who are connected to one another through family. He had scheduled some kind of antique fair in the Clanbrownwyn Hotel on a small island off the coast of Anglesey, popular with the tourists. Assuming the role of scholar of antiques, I booked a room. I think that's by Wales or in Wales. I'm not 100% sure. On the 28th of July, 1997, I caught a ferry from, I have no idea, Porthlachog in Anglesey and arrived at around 3 p.m. in Clanbrownwyn's island coastal village. It seemed a peaceful hamlet, and in defiance to the stereotype, the locals were welcoming and told me No local legends to dissuade me from exploring the island. The Clanbrownwyn Hotel was in the island's center, surrounded by forest. I made my way there on foot. You're Trilby, right? As soon as I arrived, I was greeted by a balding man in a gray anorak. I wondered if I was expected to know who he was. That depends. My name is Lankman. I'm with the Ministry of Occultism. Oh? I thought the Ministry were clear on the fact that I was handling this on my own. Maybe there are still people who don't trust you, Mr. Trilby. What? I haven't stolen anything since I joined the STP. Your colorful past is not what concerns my superiors. It hasn't gone unnoticed that your history with the Defoe Wraith influences you psychologically. I'm sure to resist it, but it could still cause you to act irrationally, disobey orders. Everyone just feels a little safer with someone else on the ground. I see. You can rest assured that I will endeavor to maintain absolute professionalism on this assignment. Nevertheless, I have my orders. I would suggest we keep out of each other's way then, and pursue separate investigations. I'm sure I don't want to get mixed up in a reunion. I watched him disappear around the corner of the building. I very much doubted that Lankman and I would become friends. The Clanbrownwyn Hotel lobby was a warm welcome, and the building was certainly well maintained, and yet there was something about it that nagged at the back of my mind, quickening my pulse. I dismissed the sensation, an act which, in retrospect, I would come to regret. Good evening, Terence Railby. I have a reservation. Ah, yes, you're here for the antique fair? We put you in rooms 3C on the 3rd floor. I'd just like to sign into the checkbook. Hello, Beth Ann. Just letting you know that I'm having my dinner in my room today. That's absolutely fine, Professor. This, I decided, was what they called a golden opportunity. Professor Cahall? Yes? I'm afraid you have me at a disadvantage. Railby. Terence Railby. We met at Sotheby's a few months ago? Oh. You don't remember me? No, of course I do. Terence Railby. How have you been? The astute reader has already guessed that both Terence Railby and the previous meeting were utter fiction. I'd spent some time studying Cahall's movements and habits. He was, by all accounts, absent-minded, and that was something I could use. I'm well, thanks. I was hoping I'd run into you. I have heard interesting things about the items you're showcasing here. You remember I do freelance scouting for some wealthy collectors? Yes. Well, a client of mine has expressed an interest in relics from Defoe Manor in Buckinghamshire. He's been on my back a while about it. Between you and me, he seems really obsessed. What remained of Professor Cahall's suspicion melted away from his expression when the opportunity to make money entered the conversation. Well, I'm sure I wouldn't want to damage your professional status. Would you like to come up to my room for drinks? Oh, I don't want to impose. No imposition at all. Please, follow me. Your room key, Mr. Railby. Oh, thank you. Please lead the way, Professor. Abed? Who's your friend? Let me introduce you. This is my personal assistant, Shaban. She accompanies me on most of my excursions. Shaban, this is Mr. Railby, an old acquaintance. He's looking for information on Defoe Manor artifacts. Oh, really? Him and half the people we meet. What is it about that place? Never underestimate the attraction of a mystery, my dear. Please take a seat, Terry. I'll be right with you. So, interested in ghost stories? The girl struck me as a forceful personality. I gave the matter some thought before replying. Of course she's a forceful personality. She's an Irish redhead. Not really. I'm just scouting on behalf of a client, like I told the professor. You know, it's strange to see someone as young as you in the antiques trade. And come to think of it, I thought only old men dressed like that. No offense meant. None taken. I didn't catch your last name. Oh, it's O'Malley. Siobhan O'Malley. Couldn't be more Irish if it tried, could it? Sorry to keep you waiting, my dear boy. Now then, what shall we talk about? Alright, so I'll ask him about relics. Alright, ask about manner. I was talking to myself. No, ask man about manner. So I understand you came into possession of artifacts from the Defoe Manor. Yes, indeed, and it was astonishing to me that such artifacts existed at all. The whole place burned to the ground. Yeah. Did you hear about the Defoe Manor incident? I was experiencing a sick feeling that I had not felt for some time. The last I'd felt it was while standing at the gates of another country mansion, not long after Defoe Manor, preparing to break in. Recalling those 5 wretched days churned my stomach with fear, turning what had once been the joy of thievery into an exercise in anxiety. Discussing it brought that feeling back. The act of feigning ignorance while vision of welding masks and machetes flooded my mind's eye worsened them. I heard something on the news, and it's been on the news again lately since that Taylor woman died. A lot of silly talk about paranormal is around, so the true facts are near unreasonable. Abound, not around. But the point is, some enterprising fellows picked up 1 or 2 undamaged items from the ruins. Furniture, books, an ugly little tribal figurine. And I took them off their hands purely out of curiosity, of course. So, were there any particular items your client is interested in? And now we come to the heart of the matter. Ask about idol. Tell me, what does a huge man in a welding mask and leather apron mean anything to you? Not really, should it? Never mind. It's a small African figurine that my client wants me to look into. Rather ugly tribal god. That old thing? Honestly, despite its age, it's virtually valueless. That's what I said, but my client is very insistent. He's interested in the paranormal, and the idol features in some more of the unlikely accounts of the Defoe Manor incident. Well, I don't suppose I should ask questions if this man of yours wants to take it off my hands. I don't have it on me at the moment. It's being kept in this hotel safe. Perhaps we could work out a deal after the fair? I'd intended to display it with the other Defoe artifacts. Inwardly, I just wanted to get this mission completed as fast as possible, and I didn't want to risk suspicion or giving off the wrong impression. That'll be fine. So just out of interest, what else have you picked up from the mansion? Odds and ends, basically. Some silverware and some ceramics. Most of a burnt rocking chair. And the painting, of course. Painting? A landscape from a wall in the mansion's lounge. Little artistic value, but the artist features prominently in Defoe Manor's colorful history. Matthew Defoe? Yes, that's him. Beth Ann who runs the hotel, she asked if she could display it in the lobby. Instantly, I recalled the sick feeling I had felt in the lobby. I had seen the painting, but had paid it little heed. It's there. It's not a reused art asset or anything. It's the actual Defoe Manor painting. Oh, Are you all right, Mr. Rilby? You've gone rather pale. What? I'm sorry, I was just distracted by my thoughts for a moment. Lost in history, huh? Something like that. Mr. Railby? What the hell was that? What the hell was what? You were just sitting there, and then you went all stiff like you'd seen a ghost. You didn't see it? See what, Mr. Railby? I'm sorry, I have to go. Something's wrong. Oh, well, we won't keep you then. We'll see you later, maybe? My head was spinning, and a sudden nausea churned in my gut. The world seemed to be pulsating, the corners of the room wavering like a heat haze. The body is here, and his soul is not. You might say I imagined these things, and I thought that must have been the case. Was I going out of my mind? Was the hotel really changing into some nightmarish twin? Was I the only one who could see it? If I was hallucinating, it was too complex. The harsh wooden floor beneath my feet felt real enough. The horrendous stench of rotting flesh that reached my nostrils could not have been conjured by my imagination. I decided I had to find John Defoe's idol as soon as possible. If not that, then at least the painting K-Hall had mentioned. I was convinced that some connection lay between Defoe Manor and this sudden madness. So, you're not going crazy. That's the tall man. Or, I'm sorry, the Slender Man. Or at least a cousin to the Slender Man. And I've looked into this a bit. I'm convinced that the Slender Man actually is inspired by the character in this game. Now, he's referred to as the Tall Man, like the character from Phantasm, but he has much more in common with the stories of the Slender Man. And I think there was actually a number of times in the story where he was referred to as the Tall Slender Man. And this game predates the Slender Man appearing in any type of creepypasta story. So I think this is where it came from. And this depiction of the Slender Man is much more terrifying. If they made a movie out of this, it would be fucking cool. So, anyway. I love this sort of dual world thing, which apparently was inspired by Silent Hill, but I had actually never played Silent Hill before playing this game. Look at papers. They appeared to be entries from a diary. July 18th. Felicia and I took shelter from the storm in a decrepit old hotel in the forest. It seems to be completely deserted, so we bedded down on the floor of the lobby for the night. It's so peaceful here. The noise of the storm seemed far away. July 19th. Exploring the hotel, it's become increasingly clear that this place is not as innocent as it first seemed. We found ancient corpses and evidence of terrible deeds in several of the rooms. The storm is cleared, and we intend to leave as soon as possible. July 20th. I'm certain now that delivery is at work. What? Oh, devilry. Yeah. Amazon is at work. I'm certain now that devilry is at work. It's Jeff Bezos. Every path we take through the forest brings us back to the hotel. We spent a whole day trying routes to no avail. Felicia keeps talking of a demon that she fancies she saw in the hotel kitchen last night. It's hard to read this particular font. July 21st. Felicia is dead. It was too late to help her. I saw her murderer, just as she did. Perhaps I will be next. I'm beginning to understand. July 23rd. The murderous figure in black, the one whose body is savagely stretched into a mockery and form, is not the architect of this nightmare. Rather, this is the work of that heinous lord of the Forbidden Lands. God forgive me. We'll find out what that means, eventually. July 25th. I built a shrine to my captor in the lobby in an attempt to appease it. Nothing's changed. I have no more food. The horror is starting to affect my mind. July 28th. I'm certain my mind is going. I imagined for a moment that the hotel had changed. It had become finely decorated and welcoming as it must have been in the past. I blinked, and it returned to its normal hateful self. The next few pages were sprinkled with blood, obscuring some of the text. August 1st. What is this relationship to the disturbing beast? Is he a servant or a prisoner? Sometimes he acts alone, sometimes at the behest of a higher power. What does he want from me? August 3rd. He's after me now. I think I must have done him wrong. It hurts. August 4th. That was the last readable entry. I decided not to take them with me. They were covered in blood and all stuck together. So, at first, I had thought that maybe we were time traveling. The lobby, too, had been tainted, and the painting I sought was absent. Presumably, it only existed in the hotel's normal form. If that was the case, I needed to find a way back there, or dispel this hallucination, if this truly was all in my mind. At this stage, I was beginning to wonder if this really was all John Defoe's doing. It didn't seem his style somehow. But what other evil could possibly be the culprit? So I guess this is the shrine. You're gonna have to bear with me because I do not 100. I don't know if I saved or not. I don't 100% remember everything that I need to do, but because again, it's been a long time since I played these games. I know I can get some meat from this thing. I tore off a lump of meat to take with me. If I came up against anything hostile, excuse me, carnivorous in this place, it would help to have something other than myself to offer it. The kitchen door refuses to open. Picture of the tall man. I think this is a book of matches. It kept me with the alternate hotel's theme. The furniture looked like someone had been hurled against them with absolute fatal force. Lying on the bar in a pool of gore was a pair of long-nosed pliers. Oh. No, it's not matches, it's pliers. They were rusty but functional. I took them with me. But this is not the future. This is another dimension. Similar to the Upside Down from Stranger Things or the alternate world from Silent Hill. Use pliers. Take out nails. The pliers were ideal for removing the nails. Fucking creepy, I love it. The gloomy lavatories were in a state of advanced disrepair. One of the cubicle doors was hanging off its hinges, and the mirror above the counter was broken. The counter had 2 sinks and was covered in filth and mold. To my surprise, a brand new sealed envelope was sitting between the basins. Baffled by the envelope, it was strangely bulky, I tore it open. A white pill bottle and a note fell into my hand. I here enclose the note with this report. Trilby, if you're reading this, then you too have seen the hotel change. At present, I have no idea if the alternative hotel is part of the ethereal realm or some kind of construct, a pocket dimension. There's a definitive correlation between one's level of agitation and one's tendency to reality shift. Fear is your enemy. It leaves you shining like a beacon for whatever evil brought us to this place. Enclosed is a bottle of tranquilizers from my personal first aid kit. When you find yourself shifting into the other place, take a pill and try to calm down, and the real hotel will return. Do not let it concern you. I'm researching the phenomenon. Your task is to find Defoe. Good luck, Agent Linkman. Linkman's letter raised more questions than it answered. I pocketed the pill bottle. So now take a pill. Hesitantly, I tipped the tranquilizer into my palm and swallowed it without water. It quickly took effect. I felt the anxiety lift from the pit of my stomach, and my dismal surroundings seemed to feel less imposing. Then I felt that strange sensation again, a lightheadedness and a detachment as the world around me began to quiver. Okay, we're back in the mansion. Not mansion, hotel. Oh, crap. Okay, so this is another thing. I can't get anywhere. I don't know what to do here. But this is another thing about this game, that it takes this sort of, okay. It definitely takes this idea from, what was the name of that game? It was a survival horror game. It was called, something Darkness? It was wow, I'm drawing a blank here. Something of Darkness, I think, but it'll probably come back to me in a minute, but there was a aspect where as you lost sanity, you would have these weird random things that would happen, like it would your character would appear without a head, or you would end up in a room that you shouldn't be in, or walking on the ceiling, or even have the it would even mess with you, make it look like your volume on your TV was going down, or that it had corrupted your save file. God, what was the name of that game? Nah. Anyway, so we go in here. Office door's locked. Pick lock. I encountered far stronger locks in my time. I picked it open within 10 minutes. They said it was in crack safe. What the hell happened there? Well, anyway, so he opens up the safe and he realizes that the idol is not inside the safe. So that's where we stand. I don't know why it skipped it. Maybe I hit a button. If there's anything else in here. The air in the hotel office was swimming with dust. The proprietors clearly felt that record keeping was more of a formality than a necessity. In the corner of the room was a diminutive but sturdy steel safe. Look at papers. Look at papers. Why can't I type? Look at Papers. Papyrus. Useless piles of hotel maintenance paperwork and correspondence. Look at painting. I was frankly astonished that Matthew Defoe's painting had survived the immolation of Defoe Manor. As I stared at it, it seemed that the surrounding room began to blur until only the painting was in focus. I fancied I could hear the cracks and whispers of Defoe Manor hallways. I felt a bizarre urge to reach out and touch the painting. Clue. Touch the painting. Touch the painting, Trilby. As I stepped closer, I could feel sound becoming muffled and my head spinning, as if I were about to faint. My hand, as if pulled in by an invisible string, reached out toward the clumsy brushstrokes. Defoe Manor, July 28th, A.D., 1821. Again, see, there again is an example of the way the British write differently than in America. instead of July 28th, 1821 AD. And you'll notice that date, the 28th of July, keeps coming up. There's a reason. Matthew Defoe is 15 years old today. He's excitedly putting off the finishing touches to a painting, which his father commented on encouragingly for the first time, and he's ever been supportive of Matthew's artistic learnings. Matthew is now convinced that his father is lifting from the mysterious depression that had plagued him for as long as either of them could remember. Now he intends to make the painting absolutely perfect before showing it again. Knock, knock. Master Matthew? Yes, James. Thank you, James. And if you would be so good to inform him that I will now be retiring for the night. Very good, James. James told me there that my father wanted to see me. I accidentally skipped it. Ah, there you are, boy. Let me introduce my son, Matthew. Hello. This is my friend, Mr. Smythe. He's an expert in African tribal art. Well, just a scholar. Hardly even that. Just someone with an interest in the subject. And he offered to assess the figurine I brought back from my travels. I wasn't aware you had a family, Sir Roderick. Is your wife home too? Regrettably, Belinda is no longer with us. Oh, I'm sorry. Quite all right. You couldn't have known. She succumbed to illness shortly after Matthew was born. I finished the painting I showed you, Father. Oh, good. Well, Mr. Smythe, what do you think of the piece? It's an intriguing little puzzler, actually. The design is reminiscent of a few Central African tribal gods I'm aware of. But, to be honest, I've never seen anything like this before. May I ask how you acquired it? I'm glad you asked. It was 20 years ago when I was a younger man on my first travels to the Dark Continent. We were traveling along the west coast when our bearers spotted a ship that had run aground. It was an English clipper named the Sea Angel, and a short exploration revealed that every single crewman had just disappeared. Of course, we immediately sent a letter to the nearest embassy to report the finding. But the point is, it was on the lowest deck of the ship that I found this very figurine you see before you today. What an extraordinary tale. But how could you account for there being an African tribal carving on a British vessel? We were as confused as you are. It wasn't a slave trading vessel, but there must have been a Negro on the crew. It's been a personal mystery of mine ever since. I was hoping you could shed light on the little matter. There's more to tell. I haven't even begun to recount the strange events that have surrounded this artifact. Would you care for a glass of brandy? Thank you, that would be most kind. Matthew, fetch the brandy from the kitchen and some glasses. Yes, Father. Here's the apron. Okay, so take the brandy. Let's try that again. Take brandy. Matthew took the brandy bottle and a pair of the appropriate glasses. Bang, bang. Hello? You haven't tried to speak to me for a while. I did another painting today. I showed it to Father and he said it was promising. I keep trying to tell you about it. I keep trying to tell him about you, but he never listens. You haven't knocked for me in so long I was beginning to wonder. Bang, bang. Hey, do you want to see my painting? Bang, bang. I'm just not sure how to get it through the door. Do I have it in my inventory? How could I, Trilby, possibly have been known what Matthew was carrying that day? Put painting under door. I'm pushing the painting under the door, okay? Just give it back when you're finished. How dare you, sir? You intrude in my hospitality and insult my judgment? That's father. Get out of my house, you worm! I better see what's the matter. Father? Oh, it's you. Father, what happened? I heard shouting. That old fool told me some rubbish about my figurine. Said the only tribe it could have come from, it all died in slavery 6 years ago. Slavery years ago. Actually had the nerve to accuse me of buying it from a forger. I'm sorry, Father. What are you apologizing for? Where's that damn brandy? I've got it here. Give it to me. I'll go back to my room, Father. Show me your painting. Father? You said you had a painting. Show it to me. I can't, Father. And why not? Because... Come on, why not? Out with it. Because I gave it to the boy behind the door. I see. Father? Go back to your room, boy. I have to write my diary entry. Yes, Father. An hour of silence passed, and Matthew grew concerned about his father. Strangely, the most disturbing thing had been Sir Roderick's reaction to Matthew mentioning the boy behind the door. In the past, racing had usually provoked a violent rage or instant flat denial. Matthew wondered what sort of anxiety was going through his father's mind. Smash! What was that? Father, what are you doing? Matthew had confused by his own reluctance. He had longed to see what was behind this door his entire life, but now, given the chance, he was struck with fear. He peered through and saw a set of rough stone steps leading down to some kind of basement. I should have done this the moment you came into this world, demon child. May God forgive me for having part in your creation. Father? What are you doing? Do you see what you've done? I didn't want him to see this. Do you see what you've done? Father, no! Father! Boo! Ah! My apologies, dear boy, but I couldn't resist. You look so lost in that painting, I don't think you ever saw me come in. What? What? Is everything all right, Terry? Yes, everything's fine. I just, for a moment there, I thought I saw... Never mind. Siobhan and I were talking about you after you ran out of the room. I said you seemed like something was making you terribly anxious. Frankly, I think that's still the case. I'm okay, really. I am. Well, if you're sure. I was certain my mind was not playing tricks on me. I had been back there, in Defoe Manor, looking through the eyes of Matthew Defoe. I'd seen the events that had created John Defoe. I saw his death at the hands of Sir Roderick, that terrible violent end that would bring him back as that awful wraith. But somehow, seeing that event, it was clear to me that there was more to this than the ghost of one retarded youth. There'd been something very wrong about that idol, even before it was used to destroy John Defoe. You know, it's funny you should mention that name. There's a really old wooden chisel among the Defoe Manor artifacts. He asked about the clipper, and the words Sea Angel are carved into the handle. Where is this chisel? Out on display in the convention hall, next to the dining room. What's this all about, Terry? It's nothing. It's just a little side project my client wants me to get into. Thank you for your help. No problem. Take care of yourself. I hate that. It keeps... I guess my keyboard is too sensitive or something. I keep accidentally skipping text. You'll notice there's a piece of paper hanging out of the painting here. It was a page from a religious book I wasn't familiar with. I here enclose it with these notes. Victim 5, the child. 1. The fifth man who desired judgment was the child, whose father held the carving of the slave. The prince came to him, and was at once rightly pleased with what he found, for the house of the child and his father already knew well the name of the king. 2. And as the prince watched, the child was thrown down by his father and broken with the wood of the prince's soul. But as the child's body, mind, and soul began to drift apart, the prince held them together, and he said, 3. You are the child, and to you I grant power, for I see in you the potential that will grant my father, the king, his greatest wish. You shall be not of the land of technology, nor of the realm of magic, but of both, and thus you shall form the bridge. 4. And across the bridge the king shall come to bring his message to the men of technology. Through you, child, the bridge will come, and thus I name you the Bridge Keeper. 5. And the prince touched the child, and he was the bridge keeper, and his 3 aspects were granted power, so that his soul would join with the prince's soul in the wood of the tree. 6. And the bridge keeper rose up and threw down his father, and threw down his brother, and truly did they know the name of the king. And into the house of his father went the body and the mind of the bridge keeper. So, yeah, so I guess the tall man, or the slender man, is, in that text is known as the prince, and John Defoe was the child and became the bridge keeper. What that means, well, we'll find out. Here's the matches I was thinking of. There's only one match left. I took it anyway. So we need to find that chisel. So we're going to go to the display. Okay, can't open that. Maybe it's over here. The kitchen doors refuse to open. This is the bar. Don't remember. Now if you just like walk back and forth, eventually you will end up back in the dark world. There you go. Pull out nails with pliers. The body had vanished with the mysteriousness that was becoming typical. What do I have? I can hardly get the door open with these 3 wooden boards crossing it shut. Yeah. The kitchen door refuses to open. I'm not really sure. Have a little look around. I think that there is a door in one of these hallways that can be opened. At the end of the... That might only be in the real world, though, or in the normal world. I don't know. But if I take a pill, go back to the regular world. Okay. So there's these doors at the end here. It would not give when pushed. I saw no direct means of opening it. So it's an emergency door, and it only goes off if there's a fire alarm. So, hold, match, to fire alarm. Light match. There you go. I love that. Click. Okay, so that opens up the emergency exits. Open door. I pushed my way through the door and descended the fire escape. Take crowbar. This is how I get into the crowbar. I took the crowbar with me. Perhaps it would serve a purpose. This is actually how you get into that room. Climb ladder. I climbed back up the ladder and entered the same floor I come from. You'll notice, too, that there's a door up here that you can't open, and it doesn't exist in the other world. Oh, boy. Why did I go all the way to the third floor? Fourth floor, or whatever. Okay. Anyhow. Now, it's locked in this world. But if we go use crowbar on wood, as I suspected, the stress provided too much for the ancient crowbar, which was bent to uselessness. I discarded it. So if we then open the door, we end up in this room here. This is actually kind of a cool little puzzle here. We can't actually open the locked door between the worlds, but if we take the pill here, took another pill, and then go through, we end up behind the locked door in the correct world, which is kind of cool. But I'm running out of time, so I'm going to cut it here, and I will get back with you guys next time. So if you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe, and until next time, remember, a mind is a terrible thing. Bye!